Welcome to the For Real Though Show, the podcast with a purpose for the people. I am your host, Christopher Keith. And of course, we're brought to you by Queso What? I decided to take the falsetto out my voice because it probably sounded really bad. Uh, anyway, so I told y'all we got some good news coming up about Queso What, and we're gonna have Shantae on pretty soon to talk about it. But I do have the freedom because she already made this public to say that not only is the food truck coming very, very soon, but also we're going to be brick and mortar. We're going to be brick and mortar people. We got a store, like a real store, in addition to the food truck. So you're talking about major big time things. See, I know I was teasing you, but some of this news has even surprised me. So I am very happy. We're going to talk to her about that and about what the future is going to bring for this glorious business that's going to serve a lot of people and make a lot of people's tummies happy. So, all right. So listen, we've dealt with a lot of topics lately with this new year's crazy new year. And obviously, some of the material this year has been very serious as need be. So I decided to lighten it up a bit this time with my series of I Got a Story to Tell. So this story is the time I almost sued White Castles, but before that, they tried to kill me. Yep, that's what I said. It all makes sense, hopefully, as we go along. But let's set the scene. So it was like I say the scene was about 1989. I was working at the White Castle in North St. Louis County in Florissant, uh, off of Lindbergh and Patterson, I believe that is. Since I worked there, they actually tore that building down and made another White Castle. But anyway, I worked there then, and I was like a porter. You know what I mean? So what I did was I didn't cook or anything like that. I didn't work in the kitchen, but I cleaned. Like I would come in and wash the building down with the hose and sweep, mop the floors. I get the when the stock came in from the truck, I unloaded it. Put in the stuff in the freezer, blah blah blah, and just kind of like every man type of thing, whatever was needed. You know what I mean? You need to change the soda machines out, do that or whatever. And it was a cool job. I really enjoyed it. It was 6 to 2, 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. So it was a good straight 8 hours. And I worked a lot independently, so it was kind of cool for me. I think I was only, let's see, so I was only like 22 years old or something like that. So anyway, so that was cool, man. I was performing well. Everything seemed to be well. I got along with people, got along with my co-workers as well as managers for the most part. We're gonna get to that in a minute. So I thought. Um, but no one ever had a problem with my job performance. I could just say that throughout this story, I can tell you, throughout my time at White Castle, I never had one issue or no one ever brought an issue with me about my job performance. So that being said, I think the even though my job performance was good, there are certain things that, well, let's just call them white people problems. I'm gonna just come out and call them white people problems. So, and what I mean by white people problems, I mean that historically, my experience working in St. Louis, working in corporate spaces in St. Louis, or even just corporate spaces too, but in this case, uh, even in this fast food restaurant, working for white people. I've never had a problem, working with white people, being around white people, and they're just people, right? We may have our different cultures and different ways of being brought up or whatever, but it's people. So when I say white people, I mean that in the context of the way society is and the way white people have deemed this thing to be. And of course, I don't mean all white people, so I hope I don't have to say that, but I just did it. But I guess I would put that out there just in case somebody snatches my video and runs it out there as if there's no context. So if you don't know what the hell white people mean when we talking about Trump, the Trumpsters and all this other kind of stuff, in this climate, okay, then that's the climate that I'm talking about. Okay. Except it was just back then, like the shit it ain't never been new. You know what I mean? It's been here since the country been here. Okay. So when I talk about white people problems, I mean that as it relates to me is they've always some of them have a problem with my confidence. Okay. And those who really know me know that I am like the least bit arrogant person at all. Like that's just not my thing. It's not my get down. I don't think I'm better than people or nothing like that. Uh, but I've never been like uncomfortable in any setting. So if I'm in a hood, I'm comfortable. If I'm in a boardroom, I'm comfortable. Like it really doesn't matter to me. If I'm around people and people act like people and people act cool, then I'm cool too. Okay. And I think a lot of times in white corporate America in St. Louis County, uh, or just St. Louis area, period, it's like if you're a black male and you show too much confidence, like you're not afraid of them, like they don't intimidate you, then that intimidates them. Okay. And then they try, I don't even know if they realize what they're feeling all the time. Like I think some of them do. Absolutely. I've had jobs where I've had run in, with white managers and stuff, where I could tell that they were shook by my confidence. Not arrogance, just my confidence. Or they were shook by the fact that I was not intimidated by them, shook by the fact that I was not kowtowing or trying to go some extra mile to prove my worthiness, that kind of thing. And so that's always been an issue for me because I'm a principle guy and I'm always going to stand on principle. And that just makes it worse because they don't want you to stand on principle, they want you to stand on fear. I've definitely known a lot of black guys in my career who I've worked with who were scared of white people, and uh I mean, obviously all people who are minorities, we all have to code switch and we know what to say, what not to say in certain situations. But some black people, take that a little too far. And they're literally scared. Don't let them have a little position. Don't let them have a little manager position because then they really get scared, really get intimidated, and they, do all kinds of things. I've worked with managers who, um, I was working at Enterprise Rent a Car one time, and we had a couple black managers, and those managers were really going out of their way to prove that they were not on black people's side, if you know what I mean. So when it came to having to write up some Negroes, they was the ones that was going to do it. Like no period point blank, no questions asked. And even in spite of a lot of the unfair things that were going on in that company, uh, in my area, certainly, I used to talk to these managers about it and be like, "Hey, man, they don't love you, right? Like this is a setup. Just there's a way to play this game. You know what I mean? You can play this game and still be true to the game, not really let them see what you're doing, and going about your business. Well, but a lot of these cats have but they still get it distorted. You know what I mean? And they feel like that if they do certain things, then they're gonna be rewarded, with job security, with approval, or whatever the case may be. So, and so I know a lot of them like that. And if I was that way, then I probably would, hell, I might be a millionaire by now. You know what I'm saying? But I've never been that guy. I always just been no matter where I am, I'm just gonna have to stand on my own too, and part of the package of who I am is my own particular level of swag, which is a principal swag, which is a swag that says that if I'm in the room, that means I belong in the room. And there's not a room that I don't belong in. You know what I'm saying? If I'm there, it's because I'm supposed to be there. Um, and if I get a peek in, I'm gonna really kind of might just stick my foot in and keep moving. We'll get to that. So, with that being said, working at White Castle, I had some white managers who were really cool. And there were a couple who I worked with day in and day out who who had that power struggle with me, even though, as far as I'm concerned, they're the manager. Power struggle, I don't have any. They do. But again, if you're not kowtowing, if you're not intimidated, if you don't hold your head down, then they kind of resent that. So we had this situation where the owners of this particular White Castle was coming to town, and well, it was this White Castle, and I think they own like three or four others, and they were coming from Louisville, Kentucky. So the first thing that happens is I don't know if y'all ever worked like in certain restaurants or places like that, but one thing I hated that people do is when you don't get some guests, or some owners or some guests or whoever, all of a sudden like weak management, this is what weak management does. They just want to do all the shit that they ain't never took the time to do around the store. You know what I mean? And I ain't talking about, hey, let's just make sure we spruce it up a little bit more, this, that, and the other. No, they was just like in this all out panic you know, uh, to try to do all this extra unnecessary stuff, to try to front, you know what I mean? And they were really like, you could tell like they were really scared, about these people visiting what they were going to say. So they came, we got the store ready, everybody was good, spick and span, nice and clean, everything's in order, blah, blah, whoa. And so these guys pulled up. They pulled up in a limousine, which was really funny to me. They pulled up in a stretch black limo, and they get out. And these are some Southern boys. You know what I'm saying? They, like I said, they from Kentucky. They're some Southern boys. You know, and I just remember from the outside, they seemed like they was cool. So they got to rocking around the store and everything and doing their thing and greeting, meeting, greeting, champagning, campaigning, shaking hands, kissing babies around the store, whatever. And while these managers were showing them around and stuff. And so one of them walked past me and he might have said something to me. I don't know who said something to who first, but we got to striking up a conversation. And because he's from Louisville, I'm like, okay, so are you a Cardinal fan or do you hate UK? What's up? And so he was a Louisville Cardinal fan, and I don't know if Denny Crum was still coaching them, but we got to talking about all like the Milt Wagner, Scooter McCray, and all these old school Louisville players. And just chopping it up, it was real cool. Just he wasn't big timing me or nothing, you know what I mean? We were just having a good conversation, just yucking it up, on some real, just human stuff. And I could see that this one manager, Denise, was just looking at like she was just disgusted, like, how could you be talking to him, and be comfortable with it? You know what I mean? So she was all bent out of shape. I could tell because you just feel this energy from her. And Mike was the general manager. Mike was he looked like he was uncomfortable too. Like, I don't know, like if I'm like they had a couple other owners that they could have been talking to, but they was all fixated on, what the old Porter guy is doing, talking to, you know, uh Mr. White. So anyway, we got through that. We got through that, not a problem. And they went on about their business. They was happy with the store. Everything was cool. Okay. But I still could sense this resentment, that these people felt like that I was like kind of out of my place. I didn't understand my role. You know what I mean? I'm to go be seen and not heard. Don't speak when you're spoken to, come when you call. And maybe in the evening you'll be a good hunting dog. That's something Mr. Jeffries used to say in high school. But anyway, so time went on, man. And at that time, in the restaurant biz, well, at least in White Castle, one of the perks was, you got to eat for free. Now, I know nowadays they charge you for your food if you work in a restaurant, but back then, a whole lot of restaurants gave you at least one meal free. Well, White Castles was so bold, it was like, hey, man, you can eat all the White Castles you want to. And, at first I thought that was cool. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I ain't gonna never be hungry. You can eat when you get there, you can eat on lunch, you can eat on your way out the door, like no charge. It was 1989. So, but man, after a while, I'm eating that shit every day. And I didn't know what I knew now. Like now I know that it's the onions that really screwed your stomach up, mine anyway. Uh, and so, but I didn't know that, but I was eating them. eating the fries and everything, the chicken rings or whatever, all that stuff all the time. And then I just started getting like just really bloated and tired and no energy. And even though I was still a young man at the time, I could tell it was due to this food. It was just too much grease, and too much bread. This is no nutritional value. I mean, let's face it, White Castle is it's not for you don't go there for health reasons. So after a while, I stopped eating their food, and I started bringing in like soup. So I bring in a can of soup, and I would take the soup out. We didn't have microwaves in the store or anything like that, so I took the soup out and I would put it in a flat, like a really flat like bowl, and we had this machine or this little utensil where, like, if you wanted cheese fries, we would make the fries, put the fries in the thing, put the cheese on top of it, and put them in this warmer. In the warmer with the cheese. So that's what I would put my soup in. And so Denise starts tripping about me eating soup. Why are you eating soup at work? That sounds like a dumbass question, don't it? But this is what I'm talking about. White people problems. Why are you eating the soup? Because eating White Castles every day, mess my system up. I'm gaining all kinds of weight. I'm bloated, tired. I got no energy. My blood pressure's probably through the roof. My arteries are probably screaming. So I'm gonna have to balance this thing out a little bit. I'm gonna eat this soup. So she told me that I needed to get a doctor's note to be able uh to be allowed to bring my soup, my chunky soup, my chicken noodle soup or whatever to the job. Did I think that was ridiculous? Of course I did. But I ain't gonna squabble about it. Made myself a doctor's appointment. Went to the doctor. Told her what the deal was. He thought the shit was ridiculous. Yeah, I remember that. But he wrote me out a thing, and he was like, "Hey, give Christopher permission to, you know, eat soup at work." You know, so so I did that. I brought the soup. I brought the thing back. Brought my soup. Here, Denise. Blah. Just like you told me. Went to the doctor's office. You know what I mean? And got you this note. First of all, she couldn't believe I had the note. Like, she couldn't believe it. I think she thought this shit was going to be very easy. But little did she know who she was dealing with. Like, yeah, she didn't know who she was dealing with. And so she took it. She was mad for a couple days. And after about 3 days, I'm still bringing my soup in. She came back in and said, well, Chris, you can eat your soup, but you can't use our equipment to warm it up in. Okay, so now I know. Like, and this is before we were saying petty, but but I knew she was being petty Pendergrass, petty LaBelle, petty Wop. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew all of this petty boo. Like, we knew what she was on. Like, it was like pretty obvious that you just got a bone to pick. You know what I'm saying? You know, the redhead white girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of a bully and you ain't been able to push, okay, fine, fuck it. So cool, no problem. Made a second adjustment. Start making salads. So I make the go went to the store, chopping up lettuce, tomato, bell peppers, just all kind of stuff, maybe a little ham slices and stuff or whatever, tuna, and so I would bring in a good salad every day. Then it was you can't put the salad in our refrigerators to keep it cool. You see what I'm saying? You say what I'm saying. So, I tried to talk to Mike about it, blah blah blah. He never would get my back. Now, Mike seemed like a nice guy. We always had good conversations, but he was one of them. He was one of them what I would call fuck boy white boys. Like he got this position and but without his privilege, he really doesn't have anything to back himself up. Uh, and he doesn't really know how to handle conflict resolution or anything like that. He definitely didn't have no balls. He wasn't gonna stand up to nothing. So he was like a cool cat to sit and have a talk with, but he wasn't about shit. Okay. So a couple weeks after that, I had gotten sick, really sick, really, really sick. And so sick, like I was really weak. I didn't have any energy. I couldn't keep any food down whatsoever. All I did was throw it up, throw it up, throw it up. And so over the span of 3 weeks, I missed work. Couldn't go to work for 3 weeks. And each week I went to a doctor. I went to a different doctor. And all these doctors running tests on me, trying to figure out what was wrong. Nobody could figure it out. Nobody. But I was sick, and I'm telling you, I have never been this sick in my life and hadn't been that sick since. Okay. So it was like really bad. Like I'm just losing tons of weight. I can't keep nothing down. I'm weak. I'm shivering all the time. I'm either cold and I'm hot, so it was like it was really crazy. And it got so bad that, I was living with my sister at the time, and it got so bad that we called my mom, and my mom was still living in LA at the time, and she got really concerned. We couldn't figure this thing out for 3 weeks, and so my mom makes this move to she goes to see a soothsayer, if you will. And I don't know, I think a lady at work might have suggested it to her, but she was like, "Yes, Scarlett, you might want to, I know somebody. They might be able to help you out with these things." So she went to see like a madam, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if the madam's the right word, but like uh, what, Miss Cleo, if you will, except the lady didn't have a TV show. I think she had a real shop. Okay. Miss Cleo, I'm really dating myself. Uh, if you don't know who Miss Cleo is, just, look her up. Anyway, Google her. I'm sure there's some information out there about on her. But anyway, so she goes see the lady. She, do whatever they do. And the lady told her, somebody at your son's job poisoned him. Has tried to kill him. They poisoned him. But he's gonna be all right. Here's what I want you to do. Tell him to take this. So she gave her some ingredients for me to drink, you know. I think it was like 22 ounces or 24 ounces. No, it was like 32 ounces. So it was a big, big. Don't ask me what all was in it because I can't remember. I can't remember. But the lady was like, hey, just tell him to drink it and he will be okay. So my sister gathered all this stuff. Now, mind you, this is how bad I was. Now, my sister Darcel, like 1989, hey man, born again Christian. You hear me? This is not a secularist, you know what I mean? Where she down with with the tarot cards or any of that type of stuff, right? Nah, man, but she went and got all these ingredients because she was like, my brother is going to die. And so she went and got this stuff, put all these ingredients together. We mix it up, and they was just like, it's gonna be, she said it's gonna really be hard to drink. You just gotta drink, you just gotta do it. So I remember we sat there. I was in her basement. We got all the stuff and we mixed it up. And they said, drink it. So I started drinking it. I swear I took like 2 swallows. The shit came out of my mouth. I was like, like, like it was so horrible. Like I was like, it's the most disgusting shit I've ever tasted in my life. Like I can't remember what it tasted like. There's like remnants in my mind, but I remember my reaction was like, there is no way in hell I'm gonna get through this. But it took me about 20 minutes to drink all of this, 32 ounces or whatever the hell it was. And I drank it. And let me tell you, for the next like 18 hours. I'm pooping, I'm throwing up, sometimes at the same time. Okay. But at a certain point, it was like, ding, I'm back. I'm back. And I was just like, damn, that is amazing. So, I was back feeling normal. Once I was like at this, I'm backstage. It probably took another few hours for me to, or maybe a day to get my strength back to start feeling like I was half as normal. And it was time for me to go back to work. So, obviously, you know, my sister as well, they like, hey, Chris, be careful. Don't eat nothing there. You know what I'm saying? I think I had like whatever the hell I took, I think I took it and kept it in the car. But I wouldn't eat nothing in White Castle. I wouldn't drink nothing in White Castle. Like I wouldn't do nothing in there. If I had some iced tea, I got the tea myself. You know what I mean? Like nobody could serve me anything. And, you know, I just try to keep my head down and do my job. So then one day I'm sitting in the break room with these people. And we had this lady that was working there. She was a young chick. I think she's like 17 years old. And she was married. And she was also kind of a big girl, like she was big, bubbly, like big bubble like girl, like, I ain't trying to be funny, but I'm just really trying to give you a description. Uh, but she was like big, kind of with the humpback, if you will. Uh, she wasn't attractive at all. Uh, which, the reason I'm telling you that is because there's a reason, you'll understand the reason why I'm saying this, but she wasn't attractive at all. But, and she was married. So I think that her husband was like 25, 26 or something like that. And she was married. And, at 17, I mean, obviously had to get your parents' permission. I think she had a little girl too. So, but I didn't ever really say nothing to her one way or the other. I didn't tease her or anything like that, uh, like some other people did. But I never did. I never talked about any of my coworkers or anything like that. But one time we all in the break room and they gets to play in the dozens. So I'm like just chilling, laid back, I ain't in it. But this particular chick, Bubble Girl, starts throwing the dozens in on me. Now I don't remember what she talked about. I think I don't know. It could have been my ears, my little ears. It could have been my crooked teeth. I don't know. It could have been the fact that I couldn't eat my food or whatever it was. But she starts cracking jokes on me and stuff. And so I asked her. I said, "Are you sure you want to go here? You sure you want to do this? Because if I start, you don't understand. I was raised in East St. Louis, Illinois. And at my high school, Lincoln Senior High School, at Hughes Quinn Junior High School, at Lily Freeman Elementary School, we used to call it throwing hots. You know what I'm saying? We used to call it Joning throwing hots. And it was a rites of passage. You know what I mean? Like we learned how he, another word we used to use, heating them up. We used to, yeah, he over there heating them up, right? That means we was joning on you. We talking about your mama, your clothes, or whatever. And the only reason I survived it because I wasn't really a great joner by any means, because I didn't really have that heart to kind of, go in on people like that. Uh, because I didn't like to be talked about. So, but the way I used to get out of it is I would just laugh. You know what I'm saying? So if they was getting on me, I would laugh. I'd be like, yeah, that's funny. And when you laugh at your own jokes, that they putting on you, it becomes less fun. So they just move on and they go for somebody else. So that's how I survived. But it didn't mean I didn't pick up a thing or two. You know what I'm saying? I did pick up a thing or two. So I knew how to say something if I needed to say something. And that's why I asked Bubble Girl if she really wanted to go there. So she said she did. She was like, yeah, and what? Now what? And so I don't remember exactly what I said to her, but I'm sure it had something to do with her shape. It had something to do with her looks. It had something to do with her being married at the age of 17, throwing her life away. I mean, it's just whatever the hell I could think of, right? Uh, and so she really got her feelings hurt. She got straight up got her feelings hurt. So, and I was like, I didn't care because I was like, I asked you, your ass, you know, if you wanted to go there and you said you did. So there it is. You know what I'm saying? It was a hee hee ha ha, you know. It was all fun and games until your ass got talked about. You know what I mean? In the words of Fred Sanford, he hell. You know what I'm saying? So went on about my business. Couple days after that, Mike comes to the store. Mike's the general manager now. He calls me downstairs. I go downstairs in the basement. We're in the basement of the building. So we go downstairs in the basement, and downstairs is Bubble Girl, Denise, and Teresa DeMarco. Now, Teresa DeMarco, I remember her name because she was a manager, and she was the manager that hired me. Teresa, salt of the earth. You know what I'm saying? Don't bother nobody. She's married, had a couple kids. Just just a quintessential American white girl. You know what I mean? But don't want no smoke with nobody. Don't bring no smoke to nobody. She gonna offer you that service. She gonna lead. She gonna be part of the squad. And she had never said a cross word to me. She had never, it was nothing ever, nothing bad ever. So we go downstairs and I'm looking at Teresa. I'm like, what's going on? So Mike says that Bubble Girl said that I was sexually harassing her. And I'm like, what? Yeah, she said that you were coming on to her and making improper gestures and yada, 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 yada. So now, in my naivete, I started explaining to him what the real deal was. Okay, man, I'm like, for real, man, look. Okay, this what happened. So we all sit up in the break room, and she called herself, want to play the dozens. That's what y'all white people call it, playing the dozens. And want to make jokes about me. And I asked her, I said, are you sure you want to go there? She said she did. And I made jokes about her. She got upset, shed a tear or two, walked away, and and now she gonna make this shit up. So Mike didn't give it a second thought, didn't think to nothing of it. He just said, well, you're gonna be fired. At that moment, like a switch turned in me, and I was infuriated. And remember, I told y'all how I wasn't arrogant. I've never been arrogant. Well, this may have been like one of the arrogant moments of my life because I looked at him and I said, dude, look at her. Now look at me. Look at me. Now look at her. She make Henrietta Hippo look like Sade. Are you kidding? I went there. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm like, dude, it ain't nothing about this woman I won't ever. Look at her. You know? Now, then on top of that, the bitch over there smirking and smiling. You know what I mean? So she's down there in this very informal meeting. Like, we're not even sitting down. Like, everybody's standing up. Like, we're literally like in the basement of a White Castle. There are no chairs down there. There's not an office down there. It's like a little warehouse, okay, with just stuff there, buns and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, so she's smirking and smiling. I'm like, see, she ain't even. She's lying. So I turn around and look at Teresa. Teresa's whole face is red, tears sobbing coming out of her eyes because she knew this was all bullshit. She knew that these people felt a certain way about me because I did not bow down to them, because I did not feel like I had to grovel or act like I'm so glad to have this job. If you just keep me on here, I'd appreciate it myself. Because I didn't get down like that, though I wasn't disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't out proving a point. I wasn't fighting the power. I was just a good ass employee doing my thing and try to have some fun, enjoy when I come to work. You know what I'm saying? But they couldn't break me. So, and so she knew this and she was caught up. Hell, she got a family. What's she gonna do? That's her boss talking, you know? She knew it was bullshit. So I left. I left, fired up, furious. But I had an issue too. I had one more issue. See, back in that day, employers could write shit on you about, why you got fired. So they could say things like, he got fired for sexual harassment. And I didn't want this shit on my record. So I went to White Castles and I asked them, hey, I need to make sure that this don't come to my record. I went to the corporate offices. Well, the corporate offices are in Columbus, Ohio, where I live now, but they had an office in St. Louis. And they think they still do. It's over by Forest Park. Um, and but they wasn't giving me no cooperation. So I went to the EEOC. Went to the EEOC, and I told them what happened. They told me to fill out this paperwork. I filled out the paperwork, word for word, what went down. I said I wanted my name cleared. They're like, what do you want, Mr. McCaleb? Do you want to sue him? I'm like, I don't want nothing from White Castle, but I want my name. I want my name to be cleared. But I tell you what, if you don't clear my name, if you do not clear my name, I will spend every waking moment of my life doing what it takes to sue you. I will tell everybody I know. I will go to the news channels. I will scream it from the rooftop. I will stand on top of the Gateway Arch and talk about you devious, lying, racist, prejudice, motherfuckers. That's what I will make your life a living hell as a company. I will be the spook who sat by the door and kicked that bitch wide open so everybody can see. Do you understand me? That is what I would do. Case manager, was like, all right then, you know, filed a report, sent it to White Castle corporate offices. 2 days later, they came back and said, okay, cool. We won't say anything about Christopher other than he started at this time and he left at this time. You know, uh, other than that, we won't mention anything about, nothing negative on his name whatsoever. And so I was like, okay, cool. And then, a couple weeks later, we checked. We had somebody like fake the funk and call and act like, they was a potential employer, checking on my, my status and my, my past work experience. And true to form, they didn't say nothing negative about me. So that's how that turned out ended. That's how they ended up. So so my sister, so years went by the way, years went by where I couldn't stand White Castle. I still hated White Castle. I didn't want to see a White Castle. I'm not eating at White Castle. Hey, if people is all at the club and they hungry, I'm going to Denny's. I'm gonna give me some pancakes and some sausage, or I'm gonna give me a grand slam. You know what I'm saying? I ain't eating no damn White Castles, right? And so again, I told you my sister was a Christian. Remember that? So after about 5 years of this, literally 5 years, we would talk about this story, whatever. And and I would always talk about how like I ain't had a White Castle since. So again, my sister being the Christian was like, well, Chris, you should forgive them. And not for them, but for you, and the way you can show that is by, going to buy like one thing from White Castle. So So, of course, like, me now, I'm thinking like, hell no, I'm not placing my capital in the hands of the oppressor. I will be investing in my community where I am celebrated. Well, as it turns out, I went to a different White Castle and I bought an order of fries, okay? And that is my White Castle story about how I almost sued them, but before that, they tried to kill me. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I'm telling you, man, that is 100% true. That really happened. It's just one of them adventures in my life, man. I've had some adventures in my life, and sometimes like you can forget all about them and then they'll just come back to you. So this one came back and I said, man, it's probably a cool story to tell. Hopefully it lightens your mood and you got to laugh about it. And y'all stay safe. We'll see you next time on the For Real Though Show. Hey, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you like about the show. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me if there's any subjects you think you may want me to cover. And if I feel like that I'm qualified to cover it, then I'll do that. If I'm not, then I'll say so. Or, who knows? Maybe I'll get somebody on who is qualified. So, like I said, this show is the podcast with a purpose for the people. And so that's we're gonna keep it like that. All right. So like, subscribe, share. We appreciate all your help. Y'all stay safe. Peace.